I like to call it like clean out the closets, clean out the drawers. I love Marie Kondo's, her filter for that is joy. And I love her analogies that she gave. If you've ever like read her book, or the magic of, I think it's called like the magic of tidying up or something of that. But I love what she does. She says, remove everything that doesn't give you joy. Like, even if it's just, if you're unsure about it, even if you got a good deal on it, even if it's been there for a long time, remove it, because it's better to be left with space to then fill with what you really love than to just keep moving around the same things. And I think about my closet. I have so many things in my closet. And because I have so many things in my closet, oftentimes it's hard to find those pieces that I really love to wear, the pieces that I gravitate to. And so that's really, I think, a really good medicine for the first start of Virgo season, is to perhaps allow yourself to clean house a little bit. So if you're not sure about anything that you're doing, the best way to know is to stop doing it and then see its impact. Like, do you miss it? Do you feel better for not doing it? I've done this before with caffeine. I've done this before with sugar. I've done this before with alcohol. I've done this before with my time. And I've found it every single time I've done it, I've been better for it, because what's happened is I've been able to assess, how do I feel not doing this thing? And then when I add it back, if I'm not sure, I get immediate feedback as to what it does to my body. One of the most profound ways I did this once was with my yoga teacher, Kia Miller. She does a cleanse every year. And part of the cleanse is you cleanse out alcohol and gluten and sugar and meat and caffeine. And what was really interesting is, it was very challenging, because a lot of these things were part of my diet. But when I did the 14 days and then I re-added back, I was really able to see like the impact of that on my body. And not that I don't imbibe in any of those things anymore, but I'm very aware of the impact of, let's say, caffeine on me. And so on days that I really want to do more creative work, or I'm doing more spiritual work, or I'm working with clients, I don't imbibe caffeine, because I know that it speeds me up. It allows me to not be as grounded and in my body and connected to my intuition. And I had no idea about that before. So removing things can be really, really healing, because it does allow us to really tune in to its impact. So do that with your time. So maybe look at things in your life that you're like, I spend a lot of time doing this. What if I took a break from social media? Or what if I didn't spend time watching TV? Or maybe it's these types of shows, or maybe it's certain people in your life. I've certainly done that many times in my life, where I've just had to relieve myself of certain people in my life that I felt our interactions weren't really being very positive for me. So this is a good time to ease in while Mercury is still in retrograde, is to kind of reflect on maybe any areas. And again, our emotions are great indicators for that. Like, if things don't feel good, right? If we don't feel fulfillment or satisfaction, this is a good place to ask questions. And before you just, take it completely out or do that, you can just kind of sit with it a little bit and ask yourself, like, what is this telling me? What's interesting right now is we don't have a lot of water. And if you look at astrology, we have the 4 elements present. We have earth, air, water, and fire. And right now there's a predominance of air. We have fire. We don't have a lot of water. And so what that means is that emotions, for some of us, unless you have a lot of water in your chart, emotions can be something that may feel distant, I'll say. You might be more mental, or you might be more driven, and the emotions may not be as present. So do allow yourself to sit with those emotions, and to make sure that the emotions can give you those indicators, because I find that how you feel is a really true assessment of something. So that will be important. Mercury right now is retrograde in Leo, so a lot of the reflection is about our radiance, because when we're truly tuned in and tapped into what gives us that enrichment, we shine, like we're at our best. And when each of us are at our best, we have a certain form of radiance and resonance. in our life. And when we don't have that, in some ways, like we're eclipsing that. And so really Mercury's trying to like ask you, like, where do you want to shine more? Like, where do you want to feel more seen? Where do you want to be more creative and just completely yourself? And it's allowing us to kind of explore where we might be, where that might be hiding, because maybe some choices that we're making, or maybe some things that are influencing us. Recently, I've realized how much I can be influenced by the people, the world, the messages around me, and because I am trying so deeply to really tune into what I'm being called to do, I've noticed that certain influences aren't helpful for me because it tends to like bring up some of those limiting beliefs around trusting myself or believing in those things. So just kind of distancing myself from those influences can be helpful right now. So maybe that will be coming up for you. Um, One thing that is nice to bring up about Virgo, because the opposite sign is Pisces, is that Virgo can be such on a mission to raise the bar, like to get better and better. Perfectionism is one way to look at this, is that oftentimes in an effort to get better, we start to see ourselves as flawed. We start to see ourselves as like in our wounds or in our mistakes, are all the ways that we could be better. And so Pisces is the opposite sign of Virgo. And so Pisces can lend us some advice in offering heart compassion to ourselves in any of the areas that we do see that we could be better, or in the imperfections, or where we know we need more refinement. The oil that I like to use for that when I'm noticing that is helichrysum. Um, so I like to put that on my heart, and I just put like a light, put like a drop of that. And if you don't have helichrysum, and it does generally come diluted, um, you can just call in that herb and call it in to your heart. And what I love about this oil is what I sense when I do that is like it's like a factory reset, because when we get our phones, we download all these apps and all things, and after a while, like sometimes we don't operate as efficiently as we need to, and sometimes these programs have bugs in them. So I like to think when I'm using helichrysum is that I'm returning to my factory reset, to like my optimal condition, my brand new. And that's really what Pisces might remind us, is that like you're not flawed. Like any place that you are improving doesn't mean that you need improvement. It means that the experience can be enhanced, and that the choices that you're making can bring out more of your wisdom, your resonance, your radiance. And so it's really not about us not being enough or good enough. It's really about just that improvement that's inspiring us to feel more enriched. Because we can certainly go down the path of like wanting to improve ourselves. And it's on this mission of like, we're never good enough. We're never, because I like, for example, in therapy, I often would say, oh my God, I could be in therapy for like another 46 years. And I don't know that I would ever like come up with all the things. And it's really not about that, right? It's about learning about ourselves. And one of the mantras I love about Virgo is know thyself. And it's not about knowing thyself so we find more things to fix, but it's about knowing ourselves so that we know truly what works for us and what experiences we're looking for in this life, which is what I love about astrology, because it's all about learning about what we want in life. And part of this experience we do want is contrast, which means it's not the best, not the most optimal. So if you're finding yourself like really telling yourself stories through your wounds, or really noticing the framing of the experience through all that's wrong, helichrysum on the heart space. And just take it in and just imagine that you're pushing that reset. I really love that oil for that reason. What else do I want to say about this season? I'll tell you some. One of the ways it starts is there's a little bit of, we'll call it creative tension that I'm sensing, and that's because we have a big square. We have Saturn in Pisces that is squared Jupiter in Gemini, and these are conjunct Venus in Virgo and Mars in Gemini. So we have a big, nice little T-square going on. So what I'm kind of sensing about this is that it's the creative tension between, in some ways, the masculine and the feminine, because we have Venus square Mars, right? So that's like masculine energy versus feminine. And it's interesting because if you think about that from the Saturn and Venus conjunction, this process of change, this process of refinement, Well, there's a process. We can do that in two different ways. We can do that more internally, like through the feminine, through like looking within, through feeling and sensing, through kind of digesting our experiences internally, um, for really just being more embodied in our experiences, truly allowing it to come to us in some ways. And then we also have the masculine way in which we change and evolve, which is more at like going out and talking to people and learning things and digesting things, from the external. Um, and we grow that way through our environment, and neither is right or wrong, but sometimes we get pulled into either too much, like we're on the track to learn so much that we just keep learning and learning and learning. And oh my goodness, have I ever gone through cycles like this where I just forget to sit with what life's showing me. Because, really life will always give us what we need, and we don't have to necessarily seek it. But also at times life is giving us opportunity to like take a class or study with someone or read a book or take in some new information that will allow us to digest life differently. So there's a little bit of like intuitiveness that has to come with this of when do I need to stop and go more inward for my change and to really assimilate and to know what how I'm digesting, and when do I need to go out and get some feedback, because I've also gone through times in my life where I've been kind of hermited, or I'm going through change, I just like want to like be in my stuff, and that can be sometimes a rabbit hole, because then you can be so overly focused on yourself that you don't get the feedback from other people. So I do find that both are helpful. So you might feel a little bit of that creative tension right now of like, oh, I want to stay home and be quieter, and oh, I want to go out, and just, like I would say, be present with where that's driven from, and really try to feel into where do you need that, where do you really feel a deeper pull towards that, and trust that, and then just experiment. Sometimes we go out and we get exhausted and we're like, oh, it definitely wasn't that, or maybe we are inside and we just think, oh, I just need a change in scenery. So yeah, that's a little bit about that. Okay, the last few things I want to say about this season is Mercury will go direct on the 28th, but it will take it all the way back till September 12th to get back direct. So although you'll feel some forward movement and maybe like kind of a release of energy around the 28th this week, when Mercury does go direct, I'm always hesitant to rush into anything because Mercury is still in its retrograde period. So there might just be some like loose ends to tie up, some conversations to have, a little bit of experimentation before you really just like do something major. So just remember that it's not until September 12th that it's actually back to where it started before it went in its retrograde period. So just keep that in mind. This next, I think it's next week, September 5th, or maybe it's next week. Yeah, I think it's next week. Mars will go into Gemini. That will have a slight change. I'm sorry, Mars will go into Cancer on 9/5. It's been in Gemini. So that has a different feel, where Mars is like motivating us to socialize and communicate and to maybe learn. It's going to go into Cancer, where it's going to be a little bit more internal again. It's like I was saying, that creative tension. You'll maybe feel that. That's coming up. There's no other like huge transits that I feel the need to like talk through. Just so you know, I do a weekly astrology video that posts usually on Sunday or Monday. So I'll break those down when it gets closer, but I just want to go over the bigger themes right now. Other things to know this month. The new moon is next week on September 2nd. So it'll be a new moon in Virgo. And so this might be some great time between now and then just to really think about like, where do you want to make those refinements in life? Where do you want to digest better so that you can have more enrichment? And if you check out my blog after this class coming up, I will put some suggestions for every sun sign, or you can follow it to your rising, of where in your chart. So if you have your chart, you can just look at the house that Virgo occupies. Some of us will have two houses because you might have a split house. You might have like, 15 or 20 degrees in one house and only 10 in the other. So you can look at your chart. If you don't have a chart, there's tons of free online resources to get it, or you can always message me and I'd be glad to send you a chart. So you can look at the house of Virgo, or I'm going to do it by sun sign, or you can do it by rising sign. And then you can look at that and I'll give you an indication for where you might do that. And I'll just do that based on that. So that's your new moon. And then our full moon's on the 17th in Pisces, right? So this might be where we want to allow in the grace, because with Virgo, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of routines, it's a lot of rituals, it's like get to work, and Pisces is like the exhale. So this would be a good time after all those refinements to allow in grace. I've really realized in my life that so much of our change and evolution and refinement to always be our best, that it is a lot of our own efforts and our own aspirations. And it's also so much the grace of receiving what life is offering us, and the grace of just allowing it to be, in some ways, of like realizing that sometimes there's just really nothing to do but be, even in the midst of all the things. So the full moon will most likely highlight that. All right, I think that's all of the main things that I want to speak about as far as the astro themes of the month. So again, digestion. So check out my astrology blog on my website, and I will have by sun sign or rising sign the area of your life that you might want to optimize your digestion. But my suggestion too, because this is the energy that we're going to feel, is to really optimize your digestion. So actually looking at things like the food that we're eating, the time of day we're eating, the pace in which we're eating, because all of those things impact. I really love Ayurveda for a lot of the ways in which it suggests our eating. So that could be things like seasonally eating the vegetables and fruits and the foods that are kind of calling to us, which in the fall becomes more of those root kind of veggies, right? The berries are gone. And then we're really just allowing ourselves to maybe work with our digestion in those ways. So making sure we're drinking plenty of water in our fluids, looking at the foods that we digest better, and making sure that so with that, you can look at all kinds of ways. I think I have a blog post about optimizing your digestion, so I'll repost that that I wrote about that quite a while ago. In yoga this month, if you're coming to class with me at Yo-Yo Yogi Mondays at 4, we'll be working with twists. And we'll be working with belly down back bends, which again stoke the digestive fire. And we'll do a lot of grounding postures, which are good for rooting us so that we settle our energy, so that we can have that consciousness and awareness to refine. So that will be coming up. So if you're in your own practice, maybe those are some things you do as twisting or core work to strengthen your center. Because again, this is the center. Our solar plexus is where we digest life. So if you're feeling stagnation, that generally means that there's certain energies in your field that are not resonate. So there's either emotions that haven't been digested, which mean we haven't felt. It's that we haven't taken the time to really reflect and to really be in our experience. That can be something. Yeah, so those are all important. So focus on digestion on a very gross level, and then also how are we digesting life? So that's kind of our themes. I want to talk through the oils that I recommend using. I already talked about helichrysum, which is an oil that can be super helpful for digestion. I just want to make sure my microphone's working, because I see people coming on and off. So let me know if you're not hearing me, please. The next oil I want to talk about is cedarwood. So if you are someone that feels as if you aren't grounded, or you don't feel that steadiness, right? Like you feel like you're too pulled in different directions, I find cedarwood to be a really great oil to like steady us and to allow us to find like I think my mentor called it the internal structuring. And I really like that thought of like your internal scaffolding, so that you're truly tuned in and tapped into you as an individual. So how I like to use cedarwood is I put a drop in my fingertips, and I like to put it at the bottom of my feet. So like right around here, I like cedarwood. I also like it right above the pubic bone. You can do it in the sacrum. I also really enjoy that. So yeah, cedarwood. That could be a great one for steadying you and allowing you to feel really more rooted and supported in life. The next oil I'll talk about is cardamom. Cardamom is a spice kind of oil, so it's very enriching smelling. You might have eaten it before. I like this one for the mantra, like, I am good enough, like I'm worthy of whatever it is that you're aspiring to. Because whatever you're trying to change and refine to get better, just remember that you're worthy of that, you're not doing this in an effort to be better or to like because you're not good enough in your form right now. So cardamom is really good for those limiting beliefs. It's good for like, remembering that we are worthy of enriching ourselves with life. So I like that one at the crown of the head. So I'll put a drop and I'll hold it here lightly for 1 to 3 minutes. I like it on my heart as well. So if you have that oil, that's a great one. And again, if you don't have these oils, one, you can get them. And I will put a link eventually that you can try for that because that's amazing. Or you can just call them in. That's also a really cool way to do that. So I'm just, can you guys hear me now? Shoots, if you didn't, that would really be a bummer. Okay, the next oil I want to talk about is bergamot. And this one's great because, again, I said that Mercury's in retrograde, which means that sometimes like we have some mind stuff. But it's also nice because bergamot is great for balancing. So I find that this is just a good all-purpose oil. So I'll put a couple drops and I'll put it in the point called Shenmen, which is right up here. Yeah, I just hold it right there at my ears. Again, you can put it on your third eye, you can put it anywhere, but I just hold it here with light touch. You can Google Shenmen, and I just hold it there, and I just really enjoy allowing my mind to settle. This really allows us so that we get out of the, I'll call it the lower mind, and that we're more operating in the higher mind, which is the higher mind that sees the whole thing, right? So not just the like acute situation or circumstance, but it's the mind that goes, oh, there's a bigger picture to this, right? There's another way than thinking it out, than forcing it out. So I find that that is super important during these times. So those are the 4 oils that I really I'm working with this month. I work with a lot of them, but those are the ones, if you were to buy them, those are the ones that I think you could use. And what I do in my process is I anoint myself. So every morning when I wake up, before I start my day, or maybe before I start something that I'm really wanting to bring that really conscious awareness, which obviously nowadays for me is like pretty much everything. I'll start with bergamot and shenmen. I'll move to cardamom, maybe on the heart, or maybe I'm doing cardamom here and helichrysum here if I want to use both. Remember, the helichrysum was more like if that's something you're working with. And then maybe I'll put cedarwood on my feet. And that can be a really beautiful way to work with those oils this month. Um, so that's how I would use it. Or you can just, if there's just one of those that you want to use, if you've never worked with oils before and you're just curious, you might just choose one of those and just use it for this month, this whole solar cycle. So till 9/23, just see how that oil, what it's done to speak to you. So maybe it's just cardamom. Maybe that's the only one that you use. And you can always just put that in your navel as well, because that is like that where the umbilical cord was. And so that can be a place of digesting that one. So I love that as a practice as well. Okay, so we've talked about the themes of the season. Um, I'm almost like wondering if my mic wasn't working at the first time. So if that is, I might like go a little later and then I'll do it again in case that whole part was mute and you guys were just watching me talk, which would be so like me in technology. So we talked about that. I want to talk about a breath practice, and we'll do that together right now, and an energy practice that I feel is really, really helpful this month. So let's do that together, and we'll do a little bit of movement right outside of that, and then we'll end with the cards for each sign. So the energy practice that I want to introduce you to, and if you've been in my classes or you've been in any of my other workshops, we've probably done this before. It's a grounding practice where we connect to the earth. This is a really powerful practice for 2 reasons. One, it's powerful because it allows us to ground ourselves because we're in our head so much and we're all out in the world, and we can so easily fracture our awareness and our consciousness, and our energy just gets split up. So this is a good way to hone in your energy and root it to something that's stable. So it's a good way to kind of align your energy.
What I also like is it's a good way to kind of like reset your energy. So if you're carrying around tension and stress or anyone else's energy, it's a good way to kind of just clean up your energy. And thirdly, what I like about it is it allows us to receive and support, because so much of us are walking around thinking that everything's on our shoulders, like we have to do it all ourselves. And this is a good practice to remind us that life is and is working for us, through us, in synergy with us. And so, what better teacher than Gaia, Earth Mother? So let's do this practice together, and then we'll talk about the breath practice, and we'll move into that this time. So I want you to take some deep breaths. And if you're sitting, great. If you're driving, just do this visually. And if you are standing or sitting in a chair, that's great too. Take some breaths to feel yourself anchor. So I imagine like my sitting bones, if I'm seated, anchoring into the earth, if I'm standing, feet. And just take some breaths to feel whatever's holding you up. And then send the intention for that energy to go deeper and deeper so that your body becomes connected to the earth. You might imagine something like roots of a tree or cords, grounding cords extending from the soles of your feet down into the core of the earth, like the crystalline grid of the earth. And if you can't see or sense this, friends, just intentionalize that it's happening. So on your exhale, send those grounding cords down into the earth. And on your inhale, draw in the earth's grounding, stabilizing, supportive energy. And again, you might visualize that. You might just say the intention and just feel that flowing in, flowing out. Energy drawing in. And then exhale, drawing deeper into the earth. Then I want you just to scan your body as you're doing this and feel for any areas of tension or stress, any debris that you might have picked up from the environment. That could be things like frenetic energy, other people's emotions, thoughts, projections, obligations. And just take all that and draw it into your body, and then exhale, send it down into the earth, and the earth may take it from you. And thank the earth for doing that, because that is one of the gifts that the earth provides for us, that she will recycle, reuse, and renew. So every breath in, we take in the earth's energy. And as we breathe out, we're releasing any energy that doesn't serve us. We're releasing the over efforting. We're releasing the holding it in or holding on to energy that can't possibly support us in enriching ourselves. So we just release that energy down. And on the inhale, we bring the energy in. And on the exhale, we bring it out. So I'll do this sometimes for 5 minutes, maybe longer. You can do this practice anytime you feel stress or tension, anytime maybe you've been in a stressful conversation or maybe in a situation that didn't feel very supportive, or when you just need supporting loving hands around you or on you. So I love this practice. It's one of my favorite practices, and I return to it so often. This is great before bed. It's great anytime in your day that you might feel that you need that. So take that in, friends. Just feel that energy. And now we're going to do a little bit of movement that I think kind of just starts to move your body and allow your body to draw energy from the outside into your core. So hopefully you'll be able to see me as I move to my mat. So we're going to do a little cat cow with, so I'm on all fours, so hopefully you can see me. We're going to extend the left leg long, which there's a wall there, so I'm going to move up. The left leg long. We're going to take the right arm forward. We're going to exhale, bring it in. We're going to inhale, lift it out. We're going to do that. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Let's do that 4 more times. Breathing in as you extend, exhale, and then hold it in. Relax your head, pull your navel and cat your back, press that palm on the earth, pull the heel in, and then release. And I'm going to turn around to face you so that I'm not hitting the wall in my room. And then we'll do the opposite side. So now I'm going to extend the opposite arm and leg, and then 7 times. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, elongate. Do this with your breath. And then pull it in and hold. And then release it down. And then we're going to take the outside arm and we'll take it up. And then we'll exhale, thread it through and hover. And then inhale. And then exhale, thread it through and hover. And then one more. And then thread it through and rest your shoulder on the mat. And then press into the palm that's on the earth and kind of turn and twist your body. And then coming back to all fours, we'll take the opposite arm up, that's your back arm, and thread it through. And then reach up, twist, press into the palm that's on the earth, exhale, twist. Inhale, stretch up, exhale, twist. And then one more. And then thread and rest your opposite shoulder on the mat. So I'm going to get a little closer. Press into that palm that's on the mat, roll open. And then come back up. We're going to come seated on the mat. We'll extend one leg long, and I'm going to move over so hopefully you can see. It's hard to see. So we have one leg long and one leg bent. And we're going to take an arm and we're going to turn and twist and reach for the big toe. And then turn and twist. And then one more. And then turn and twist. And I have my hand back behind me. You can use a strap if you need to. And then really churn and stretch. And allow your navel to pull in and just feel all your energy pulling into the midline. And then slowly come up and we'll opposite leg. So the arms come out and then I turn and twist towards my straight leg. And then come up and then turn and twist. And then come up, turn and twist. And then this time we'll stay. And just allow yourself to really use your breath on the exhale to pull your navel in and to stretch a little deeper. And then slowly come up. Okay, we're going to do some core work. And so I'm going to lie on my back. I'm going to adjust the camera so that you can see a little better, hopefully. And what we're going to do is we're going to have our legs can be flat on the floor, or you can have your legs up in the air. So hopefully this will be a little bit easier to see. So you're going to be up on the floor. You can have your feet like this, or you can have your legs up. And we're just going to exhale. And we're going to inhale. So again, I could, with my knees bent, be doing this. And I want you just to do this intentionally to, again, stoke the fire in your navel. So imagine that with every iteration of this core work, that what we're doing is we're actually digesting whatever in life feels that it's still stagnant within us. We're opening up our life force. We're opening up our capacity to refine, to digest and assimilate all of our experiences so that that energy may flow through us and we may enrich ourselves with the wisdom of those experiences. Hold it up now. So just relax your head and neck, but pull your navel down and squeeze everything to the core. and then release. Excuse me. Lay your hands on your navel and just take some deep breaths and feel the energy that's circulating here. And now we're going to come up seated. And then this practice is one of my favorites. I'm going to sit on something. So we're going to do first some, this is a practice that helps us kind of digest and release any stagnant energy in our solar plexus. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take a deep breath in and you're going to pump your belly while you have full breath as many times as you can, then you're just going to release it. Okay, so you're going to breathe in and then pump the belly with the breath in. Breathe out. And just keep going just like that. Breathe in, pump the belly, breathe out. Breathe in, pump the belly, breathe out. Keep going. This is a really great process in breath to do if you're not sure what you're not digesting. It kind of brings that subconscious material up and it allows you to kind of work that energy out and through your body. So it's a really beautiful practice to do to kind of get rid of that subconscious kind of like stuff that kind of gets just entangled in our energy field. Just keep going. We're going to do a few more rounds of this. You can do all of these practices longer if you like. And this is uncomfortable for you, you can just take deep breaths in and out and just imagine a fire in your belly that's allowing you to kind of digest and assimilate any of those that content. We'll do one more. And then let it out. And then just pause and feel how the energy is shifting within you. And then we're gonna end with one other breath practice, and this is the pumping of the belly. It's called Kapalabhati, breath of fire. You might have heard it. This is a equal inhales and exhales with a forceful exhale. We're gonna do it for 1 minute. If you're on your menstrual cycle or if it just doesn't feel good, just do long, deep breaths. And again, imagine that fire. This is one of the most transformative breath practices that Kundalini offers. And I love it for times of transformation and change because it just allows, again, me to get that vital energy in the solar area, which helps me digest and helps me move forward. So 1 minute, take a deep breath, and this is what it sounds like. 30 more seconds, keep going. Take a deep breath, hold, and let it go. And just sense and feel your energy. You could take any of those practices and add to do them longer for more support during this time. Okay, let's move into the last part of our class today, which is going to be I'm going to share with you for each sun sign, or you can do it for your rising, a message to you during this season. I'm going to start with Aries in the first sign. So, Aries, the question for you this month is: am I focused on what I want? Am I focused on what I want? right? Oftentimes, things take the show and they take up our energy and they don't allow us to focus on what's important. And what another card, the Earth card I got for you is the Ocean card. I'm going to get a little closer. The Ocean card, and that's all about ebb and flow, which means that with our energy, like we can't be all on and we can't be all off, right? We have to constantly be in flow because that is the cycle of life. So as you're focusing on what you want, can you be in flow with the days in which you're actively pursuing it and the days in which you're allowing life to just move you and you're allowing yourself to kind of flow more gently with life. All right, that's our Aries. Let's talk about Taurus. The question that life has for you is, does my life have more room for pleasure and play? Usually Tauruses are pretty good about this, but what about even more pleasure and play? Tauruses also can work pretty hard, so pleasure and play for you. And then the Earth card I drew for you was clouds, shape shifting. And so for this card, I often, the message that it comes to me is that we have to be adaptable, and Taurus is fixed energy. And so oftentimes we get in these ruts, right? And where we can sometimes grow and open ourselves to new opportunities and information is when we allow ourselves to just shapeshift a little bit, like change it up a little bit. Maybe if we're always serious, we get a little bit more playful. Um, if we're really strict to our routines, maybe we get out of our routines a little bit. Allow yourself to shapeshift. All right, Gemini, your question this month. Am I ready to let go of this buried shame? Remember, I said emotions are not always at the surface during this time because not a lot of water signs. But emotions like shame that get buried end up pulling our energy down. And that's what gets stuck sometimes. And so allowing yourself to perhaps slow down and tune into that. And I drew for you the shaman card. With a shaman card, that's healing energy that's needed. So that might be this month that you do some healing work that's outside of the mind. That might be working with a healer, getting a reading. That might be going into nature for some healing. It might be doing some type of physical healing. Oftentimes shame gets buried and we need some help to not really to pull it up, but just identify where it might still be active in our field. And that just takes maybe that support and guidance for where to locate that. And there could be many different ways to work with it. So trust that that will come to you, that you don't have to necessarily like go searching it down. It's probably right in front of you if you are willing. We're moving on to Cancer. Our Cancers, the question for you is, what can I do to make a difference? And oftentimes, right, when we're digesting life and we are enriched, we can make the greatest impact. So, what can you do to make a difference, not only in your life, but in the life of others? Like when you are your best, we can have that impact. And you got the River card for movement, Cancers. So that means that there is some movement that needs to happen. So if you're sitting on the fence with something or you're just kind of waiting and waiting, this might be a month to actually do some things differently. You know, rivers move. So this is a month to make that difference. Even if you're not sure how, right? Or you're not sure the long term, try it. Try something. All right, we're going to move on to the Leos. Your question, am I consistently showing up? Am I consistently showing up? So, Leos, that's the question for you. And you know, when we show up for our routines and the things that make us the best, we are showing up for ourselves. I know that when I'm doing my routines that make me the best, that is a way of saying to myself that I'm worth showing up. The card I got for you, you got the volcano card of volatility. So that card can sometimes show that there's a lot of emotions on the surface or right at the surface. And so showing up for you might be showing up for the things that need to come out and the things that needs to be expressed. And sometimes that is showing up for you. Sometimes not keeping it in isn't showing up for you. That sometimes those have to be expressed. And they can be expressed through creative expression. It doesn't have to be like exploding at someone. It can be through art. It can be through a physical activity. It can be going in nature and expressing yourself there. And it can sometimes mean need to be with someone else. Okay, Virgos, this is your month. What's the question for you? What are the dominant emotions that run my life? Really good question, right? Remember, Virgos, your opposite sign is Pisces, and just as much as you are in touch with your emotions, you'll be in touch with what those are trying to tell you. So, if the dominant emotions in your life are not the ones you want, that means there needs to be a different choice made. There's something that you're ignoring about those emotions because emotions are messengers. And the card I got for you is the whale card, breach, which means that sometimes we got to kind of come out from like all this like stuff and break out of it. That can be break out of something that like we're in too hard of a routine or a rut with. um it also can just be like break out of that emotional state that's like if you've gotten memorized in an emotional state that's not working, do something that allows you to break out of it this month. Libras, you're next. Your question: what expectations do I have that are impossible to meet? I think this is a good one for Libras who are all, who are our relationships are focused and who are those that are oftentimes the peacemakers in relationships. What expectations are impossible to meet? And the card you got was the Milky Way perspective, which might mean find some new perspectives. Sometimes when we're really hard fast in a certain perspective or a certain end of a polarity, it's really hard to see something that's right in front of us. So I always like the exercise, the five perspectives, where I take five varying perspectives of either like people that I know that would have a different opinion, or just five different archetypes that might have a different opinion. That sometimes helps me get out of my own way with how I'm seeing something. And that might give you the evidence you need of what expectations. Okay, we have our Scorpios next. Scorpios, what am I grateful for right now? This is a good one for this month because gratitude is the elixir for grief. Gratitude is the elixir for all the it's not happening, I'm not good enough, all these things. And so gratitude can be a really great thing to digest more of, right? That's the highest vibration. So really rooting out and looking, taking the time to look for the things that you are grateful for and feed yourself lots of that. And the card that I got for you was Desert Vision Quest. And so for this, I'm feeling that you're going to need some solo time. Oftentimes, the desert, right? There's not a lot of stimulation. And when we take ourselves out of the stimulation of this world, which is crazy, we can sometimes see the things that we're grateful for that we couldn't see before because it's just kind of one of the million things. Like the closet analogy I gave earlier, where if you have a closet full of clothes, it's really hard to see the ones that you really love. So maybe spending some time alone and maybe cleaning out that closet might be a good one. Those are my Scorpios. All right, Sagittarius. Am I afraid to be seen? Sometimes Sages are big energy, so you might be saying, well, I'm pretty good about that, but really seen. And seen sometimes in your card, vulnerability. So, can you be seen and vulnerable? So, not always seen as the sage. Sages tend to be like those people that are always wise. And sometimes it's okay not to be the wise one. Sometimes it's okay to say, I need help, or I actually don't know the answer to this, but I'm working on it. I'm working on understanding this. So, this is a month of maybe some vulnerability within your digestion to help you digest life. Capricorn. To whom am I comparing myself right now? That's your question. To whom am I comparing myself? Because oftentimes, if we're comparing ourselves to people that are on different plights, that have different things that they're working on in life, we cannot feel good enough, right? We can feel that we got to work harder. And I notice this all the time, and really that there is no one to compare to but ourselves, right? And the card I got for you was Eagle, communion. This is a card to invite us into more communion with spirit, with nature, with your internal wisdom and guidance. So I notice when I'm comparing myself a lot that I'm not as tied in to my own internal guidance. So I really offer you that this month, that spend more time, and maybe it's journaling or having conversations with your higher self and really letting yourself compare to and understand that part of you, not so much the externalized part of you. Okay, Aquarius. What do I resist feeling right now? Whew, that's a good one for Aquarius because Aquarians tend to not want to feel, right? They're they're sometimes a little more detached from their emotions. I'm speaking very generally, obviously. So oftentimes what we resist, well, not only does it persist, but it's sometimes the very thing that we need to feel so that we can make the shift or the movement that we need in life. And you got the spring equinox card rebirth, which means that something new wants to come through, but oftentimes it's on the other end of an emotion we don't want to feel. So really giving yourself permission to feel that might be really helpful. So notice where you might want to distract yourself, where you might get really busy, where you might tend to do anything but feel, and be present with those activities, because underneath there is probably the feeling. Last but not least, Pisces, my sun sign. How can I surrender even more to this moment? And certainly that speaks to me. Pisces are generally are the sign of surrender. And even when we think we're surrendering, there's always more to surrender. It's even the things that feel impossible, that we feel so entitled to hold on to, or so untrusting for anyone else to give away. And I think it's really surrendering into a trust. And this card came fire passion. How do you surrender to your passions? How do you surrender the obligations or the things that you think don't allow you to really truly find the things that light you up and are passionate? Because this month, really finding that fire is finding your passion, is finding the things that will digest really easily. So maybe there's some things to surrender that are in the way of that you can look at. Maybe there's some obligations or some things that feel like they have to be there in front of that they don't have to be. All right, so those are your oracle card readings. I had the Earth Magic deck that I used for that, and I'll put the Soul Truth deck. Those are the two decks that I used this month. So those were the two cards. So let's see. So I gave you the oils to use this month, some practices to use this month. You can use any of them separate or together, twisting, some belly down back bends, maybe to really, again, grow from the earth, some good rooting postures. Um, and the theme being digestion. And again, look at the description box below this video, and I'll share the link to my blog post about digestion, and also the blog post that will be here on my website today later, for the where you can expect to want to work on digestion this month. So those of you that have been with me from the very beginning, thank you. I appreciate your time. Comment, like, share. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm so grateful to do this work. And truly, the reason I do this is because part of me showing up for me is to do what delights me most, which is sharing the tools and the things that allow me to live my most fulfilled life, so that you too can do that in the now. So, blessings to you. I am going to take a minute to talk about this cycle again, because I feel like my mic was off. And so I'm going to do that because I have a suspicion that it was, because now the lights are on, it wasn't. So, if it was just blank, I do want to make sure you guys got the themes. So, or maybe I'll just film another video. That might be easier. I'll check that out. Blessings, friends. Until we meet again. You can join me this Thursday on my next Facebook Live to talk about the genius tools of intuition and how to cultivate greater intuition. Okay, till next time.